presented this at our committee meeting, the RIOC meeting. And at that time, we had proposed 4 locations. There was discussion by a couple of our board members with respect to one of the locations, and that being on the west side, the 4th most northernmost location. We went back to the Octagon management because the property belongs to Octagon. We don't have control of it. And they were willing to work with us to put the 4th bike station in the parking lot of Octagon, abutting the tennis court. So this presentation that you'll see tonight involves that modification.
Thank you. My name is Brian Garrity. I'm the Growth Operations Manager for Citibike and Lyft in New York. Thank you for having us here to present this proposal for bringing Citibike onto the island. So, you probably are all very familiar with bike share at this point. Citibike has been in New York City since 2013. But to give a bit of background, bike share is a dense transportation network of bikes that provides a convenient solution to help people get from A to B, generally taking one-way trips. Citibike is the bike share system that we have here in New York. It's open 24/7. It's a public-private partnership between us and the Department of Transportation. As Prince said, it's offered at it's fully privately funded, and would come onto the island without any funding from RIOC. This is the bike. It is designed with the bike share use case in mind. The front wheel has something called a dynamo hub that powers front and rear lights, which are always on when the bike is moving. It has fenders on the front and back for wet weather riding. It has an internally geared hub in the back and requires a lot less maintenance than a personal bike normally would. It also has a basket on the front and the seat is adjustable. The stations are easy to install. They are placed where they're designed to sit. They're not attached to the ground. They require no construction or excavation at all. It takes 1 to 2 hours to install a station, and then the same for removing one as well. They're not connected to the grid. They're battery powered and solar charged. As I said before, Citibike launched in 2013. You can see the area that the launch area, which is identified as phase 1, was in Manhattan, below 59th Street, and parts of Brooklyn. We then expanded between 2015 and 2017 in the phase 2 area, and phase 3 is the expansion that we're currently have just begun, and which includes Roosevelt Island. To date, we've had around 95 million trips in New York City on Citibike. Our bikes generally see more than 7 rides on each bike per day during peak riding season. Our busiest days are around 85,000 to 100,000 trips, and we have 156,000 annual members, roughly. And now I'll talk about the sites that we selected and process that we follow for identifying those sites. We first met with RIOC and with Prince. We walked the entire island from south to north with the aim of finding room for around 4 stations. The first site that we settled on in the south is at the entrance to South Point Park, and it's identified by the blue highlighted area that you can see there. All of the stations will be around 36 docks and cover approximately 90 feet in length The stations themselves are about 3 feet wide, with a bike dock that occupy about 6 feet of width. This is the second station, which would be close to the entrance to the tram. This third station, and this one is at the motor gate. Will be partially underneath the elevated parking area. And this is the fourth station that you were describing earlier, which originally was planned to be further east, but then we relocated it to the parking lot of the Octagon.
So, as I said at the committee meeting, we view this, RIOC views this as a pilot project. The agreement that we're going to be entering into with Lyft, the company that owns Citibike, will reflect that. These stations can be moved. We can expand the program if we wanted to because it's working, or we can decrease the program if we find that it's not working for us. Brian, there was a question raised by someone in the community about why couldn't we put one closer to the subway? Could you respond to that for us?
Yeah, sure. We did look at sites that were a little bit closer to the subway entrance. My understanding is that the sites that we identified over there that were suitable for a station would be undergoing construction at some point in the near future. And so we would very soon have to relocate those stations. We can certainly revisit that at a later date, and if there's a desire to relocate the station that's next to the tram, closer to the subway, there's no reason why that isn't possible later on.
Is there proposed construction of the cutout area to the south of the MTA airvent station?
I can answer that. So near the subway station itself, we looked at two specific locations.
Mm-hmm.
One is exactly the one you mentioned, which is the south and north, both locations actually.
Yeah, the
near the
MTA
MTA
is in the
event.
parked area, but.
Right, but we have received multiple permit requests for their work that's going to require logistics planning and logistics access from those two sides. The other location actually we did look at is on the Riverwalk Commons side, right around the bus stop. But when we looked at that location, we don't have enough space for even the minimum requirement of a dock. We only have space for about, I think it was 10 bikes, which doesn't get you much in a very
Well, back by where the fruit
congested
stand
area.
is.
Sorry?
Back by where the fruit stand is.
We looked at where, on the other side, which is along the, right across from the current construction site of Building 7,
Okay.
right where the
Close to the bus stop.
sushi place, yeah, the Japanese sushi place is in.
Other question is, what's your restocking plan? Does that involve when we truck around to redistribute bikes and bring bikes in the city here? And if we have more inbound traffic, I've had some discussion with some folks. My other son actually used to work for Citibike, so he like clued me in as to Joe Strong used to work with you guys.
I wish I knew your son. I don't think I know him.
Well, it was years ago, and he went off to college and stuff and back, but he said, yeah, part of the issue is the truck and the restocking and how frequently you're gonna service the stations, and otherwise you end up with empty stations. And
Yeah. So, that's actually one of the toughest challenges that we face is redistributing bikes. In a system like Citibikes, most of our riders are commuters, and so you see a pattern, which is kind of like a tide of bikes moving from residential areas to commercial areas and then back again at the other end of the day. And so, for that reason, the natural use of the system kind of sets itself up for the next commute pattern.
So what's your, at the moment, your initial plan for restocking schedules here? How often do you think that will happen?
It's hard to say right now. We have to wait and see how the system is used on the island. It's a little bit of a unique case because it's an island.
And it's Roosevelt Island, it's kind of unique.
So, we'll have to respond to that after we see what the patterns are really like on the island.
The Citibike have motorized assist bicycles?
Yes, we just launched a small fleet of e-bikes. There's around 250 in the system right now. We plan on expanding that in months and years to come.
That needs, external charging station.
Actually, the batteries that power those bikes are swapped by field staff. So they're not charged at the station itself.
Would any of them be sited on Roosevelt Island?
The e-bikes?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. I mean, they could organically arrive here, or we could place e-bikes on the island to make up part of the fleet that is specific to this island.
The current pilot program does not see e-bikes yet, but we think, people move around, so there's not, not to say that someone's
It's
going.
kind of random, but the difference, one difference being, what I'm trying to get to is that we're gonna have a population of these stations, and people are gonna be dissatisfied if they show up all the time and they're empty. Or that there's no, or they because of the flows, there's no place to park, they have to lock to return it and lock it back in, if it's totally full. So the redistribution becomes a problem. With our traffic patterns, people are gonna be going like, off the island, and then either some into Queens, the people who want to use it for commuting in the spring and summer, they're gonna be going up the bridge, across the Main Street Bridge, and stuff like that. And so some of them might want the e-bikes, but then, because it's a trek up and down the bridge. But if it's swapped by attendance, then that means we would have to have, based on your telemetry, know how much of a technician presence you would need to swap the
For
batteries.
the e-bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be difficult to do that for certain, but I mean, we have parts of the system that are farther from our base of operations than Roosevelt Island.
Okay.
That we have to service for.
But then we're also an island, so it's that's part of the challenge.
Yeah.
And it's why I'm wondering what your stocking plan is, again, because that means you're gonna have a truck coming in. And if you're doing it once a day or once a week or whatever your initial debut of your stocking plan is, that means you have to have a plan for your trucks to come on and off and servicing.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that so far?
Well, throughout the entire system, we have a 2-to-1 dock to bike ratio. So we have around 28,000 docks throughout the entire system and 14,000 bikes, roughly, in the fleet. So we would maintain that same ratio here. I think we'd have around 75 bikes on the island initially. And it could be that it's relatively insulated. Those bikes don't move off of the island and new bikes don't come onto the island. And if that's the case, then you would always have roughly a 2-to-1 dock to bike ratio on the island. So that's our initial plan for launch.
Okay.
And then after that, we'll have to see, if those bikes all leave the island or if it gets very crowded here, we'll react in real time.
Is it possible that I could ask a question?
You just did, but go ahead.
I'd like to know, I would like to have some clarity. I didn't quite understand as to why the area by Dwayne Reed was not considered for a Citibike station.
Sure. So initially when we walked all the 3 sites around the subway station, we did take initial Citibike took initial measurements of that area, but granted that there is a fruit vendor, there is about two buses that stop there, and there's a big subway station, and one of the only bigger public transport system on the island. It gets a lot of pedestrian traffic. So while you have pedestrian overflow and someone trying to take the bike out of a station, it becomes a hodgepodge.
Okay, thank you.
But just the range, I haven't measured it, but from the front of the Dwayne Reed back toward the wall, this is too big to fit there?
From the front of the...
You look at the Dwayne Reed, it's that cutout, and there's an arc, and that's where the fruit stand is.
Mhm.
But there's along the wall of the Dwayne Reed,
Yeah.
I don't have the measurements, but your rack wouldn't fit there,
So looking...
along the wall?
Going east-west? Is that going east-west? So
No, going north-south.
Going north-south, okay, so going north-south as well, they need 96?
Yeah, they're 90 feet long.
90 feet long linear path, plus clearances behind the bike, so once you undock the bike, there's room, so someone can take the bike out and...
Right, but it's enough space that you can scooch the fruit stand over a little bit, but just scooch, that's a measure. Yeah, so that's one spot, and you said the other spot across the road by the MTA, that they're not gonna let us use that because they have using that space.
construction, yeah.
But isn't, I'm sorry, just a clarification, so the resolution is just the authorization for you to enter into the license, and this license, of the duration of the project, we can move around depending on how the project goes, different citing of where it is, and in fact, the license that you guys are going through will have a proposed original citations, but if it's that the community chooses down the line, we could change those at any time, so that's what that authorization is for.
Authorizing you to enter into an agreement, which we can terminate,
Right.
which we can modify. It's for a pilot program.
So can I move to approve the resolution?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Shinizaki.
Aye.
Mr. Polly.